Zest is in, where resilience begins, not fixing the cracks.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Zest is in with me, Shel Marie, the podcast that'll take you on a journey from the hustle to the harmony, fueling your passion whilst finding your peace. You are going to love my guest today. He is called Tom Cronin, and he is a former high-flying broker turned global meditation teacher, performance coach, and advocate for mental well-being. Super important. After years immersed in the fast-paced world of finance, his life took an unexpected turn following a profound personal breakdown that became the catalyst for deep transformation, which I'm sure many of us can relate to in our own lives. Through his meditation, mindfulness, conscious leadership, he now helps individuals and organizations rediscover balance, purpose, and inner peace. Today, I'm sure we will discover and explore what it truly means to succeed without losing yourself in the process. Whether that is burnout or whatever that means to you. And hopefully this will give you a beautiful doorway to more awakening. If you feel called, I invite you to share a little love by helping amplify my incredible guest voice today by subscribing to future episodes. It costs you absolutely nothing, just a little action, a click of the button, just help amplify this powerful episode and allow this wisdom shared here today to reach many more hearts and many more minds. So thank you if you've done so already, and may this episode bring you the clarity, courage, and a deeper sense of calm. Welcome, Tom.
Okay, great to be here. Thanks for such a colourful introduction. I appreciate it.
That's the zest in me. Thank you so much,
totally.
Tom. Where do we even begin? I just have this. It's really interesting because before connecting with you, and I know there's a difference in the time zone, and I know you've kind of had your beautiful day, and I'm just starting mine. So, but I just sense this from potentially a young age. Please correct me if I'm making any assumptions. But I just have this sense that you always knew what you wanted and you always went for it. Is that correct?
I think I always went for it. Firstly, that for sure. I just am always been quite driven. It's part of my family genetics. We are very much doers, and we like to sort of write lists and get things done and cross things off the list that we've done and very much achieve our goals. But interestingly, I thought when I was going to leave school, I was going to be a journalist and write articles for Time magazine against capitalistic greed. But lo and behold, I spent 26 years on a trading room floor working in the corporate industry that I was going to be writing articles against. So I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, and it just kind of went down that sort of pathway for a long time because it just provided lots of income. I was just really caught up in that whole world of gosh, this is exciting, it's fast and fun, and also there was a lot of glamour and glitz and money in it, so I got really dazzled by all of that, unfortunately, but I paid a price for that over time.
Yes, but I also sense, just from my own path, and I'm sure many others can relate to it from their own paths, even though sometimes when we, I'm not saying that you are completely in alignment, because I think everything is always unfolding, but you are very much, mind, body, soul, spirit. But I also, what I've come to realize is instead of always kind of looking at my past as I wish, I actually see now that everything is so perfectly crafted together, even when it makes no sense. So as much as possible, I like to really connect to the gratitude of my past and see how it actually created the version that I am today, and then this version that's going to create the next version. And I think it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I love that as well. These days I'm very much clear on where I'm going, what I'm doing, and as you say, there's a very strong alignment with everything that I'm doing inside and outside of myself. And as you say, all of those things that I went through, the dark times, the challenging times, they all played an integral role of pieces. It's I see it as like a jigsaw puzzle, that every single piece plays a particular role in making the whole picture come to life. And it's not like one is better or one is worse. They just all play an integral role in the whole thing coming together.
Absolutely. And I know, like, for people that might be going through something right now, it's kind of like, oh, well, it's easy to say on the other side. But if anyone is listening, I really want you to, like, really know that something that I've realized is, even when it doesn't feel like it, everything is always for our highest good in the end. And even if you could just hold on to that one little glimmer of hope or faith or whatever it is you connect to, and just know that it will be worth it, because that's definitely what I've experienced. And another beautiful thing, which I'd love you to comment on if you've got anything to say about it, is often as well, what we can picture in our mind and what we think we want is so much greater than that. Like, when you really, like, it doesn't mean not doing anything and sitting in your your space and just being like, because I do believe also internal and external plays a key part, which I'd love you to talk about. But equally, action aligned with process, like connecting, make those connections, put yourself in those rooms. So yeah, anything that you would like to share about that?
Thank you for sharing that. The hardest thing for humans, myself included, is to have a deep trust in the process. When you're going through something that might not make sense, it might not be something that you want to go through, but the hard thing is to trust that process in some way, shape or form is designed to elevate you, to awaken you, to inspire you, to transform you. And we get, I believe, not what we want, but what we need. And quite often we're so attached and obsessed about getting what we want that we're so miserable and unhappy when we actually get what we need rather than what we want. Yes. And getting what we need, if we can see that's what we need, and if we can adapt and learn through that, then that's when the lesson and the message starts to alleviate itself and things get a little bit easier from that moment onwards. So yeah, 100%. And a thing you mentioned there, which is so poignant and true, is that our inner state and our external world, there's the synergy that happens there. And I tend to find a lot of times my inner world is having a very strong influence on what's going on in my outer world. And what a lot of people, unfortunately, in the code and the construct of our society, is that if we can make our outer world fall into place, then our inner world will feel better. But it actually works the other way around. If we can change our inner world to being how we want it to be, then the outer world will start to vibrate and resonate with that frequency and start to come into alignment with our inner world.
Absolutely. You just so beautifully said that, and even that heavily links to something that I realized, that it's not saying it's wrong, but how many of us believe you see and it's true. And I think that really depicts that so beautifully, because what I've really begun to believe and realize is often what you really cannot see is not the truth, because all is true, but I mean it's the more aligned, peaceful, like what you said. You can, like, I'd love your take on this. I feel like everyone, if you are really determined, like what you shared at the beginning, like ticking off the list, a doer, if you really believe that you are going to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve, I believe that everyone will eventually achieve it, but the how and the way we get to it is very different. And I just know now that when I really connect inwards and I really listen, even when it makes no sense, there's so much more peace and clarity and less chaos. Like, I'm not saying my life doesn't have chaos now, but I think even chaos and negativity and all of that, I think you get to a point as well where you perceive things differently. It's not saying it stops. You just look at it from more an observer point of view rather than poor me, it's happening to me point of view. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think, we're in this sequential process of evolution of becoming more conscious. And the analogy I like to use is that if you take a 4-year-old child that drops its ice cream, there's this huge emotional upheaval because its ability to see that situation is through the lens of a 4-year-old child's consciousness. And so this is a tragedy. It's an immense emotional upheaval because of the loss of that ice cream. But if a 30-year-old or 40-year-old or 50-year-old has the same experience, exactly the same situation, they have a very different emotional reaction because their consciousness has changed.
Yes.
And this is something that we can accelerate and have exponential growth in our degrees of consciousness using certain practices. And obviously for one that I tend to promote and utilize is meditation, but obviously there's breath work and qigong and yoga and all sorts of other things, plant medicines. And all of them are doing two things ideally. One is clearing the physical body that's storing stresses and traumas and wounds. So we need to purify the vessel, the physical apparatus, but also expand our consciousness, open our mind, and start to see the world through a different lens. And exactly like you're saying, we start to, over time, be able to peel back the lens of it's almost like wearing sunglasses, and then you take away that filter and all of a sudden you can start seeing things in a different light. We start to be able to see more of that intelligent design, like you're saying, that is creating environment, situations, circumstances for our own evolution to support us in some way, shape or form. When it comes to manifesting and creating things that we desire, I think, I don't think it's 100% definitive that we can manifest everything that we want, but I think what we can do is understand and appreciate that we are a vessel for an infinite field of creative intelligence. And that infinite field of creative intelligence, it's a formless, universal, intelligent design that is looking to express itself through form. So an amoeba, a pine tree, a sunflower, a coconut, a lizard, and even a human are expressions of that infinite field of intelligence and creativity. And as humans now, we've developed to such a point, more so than a lizard or a Labrador, where we can actually channel that creative intelligence, and we can create iPhones, and we can create paintings, and we can create tall skyscrapers, and we can create podcast interviews, and we can create retreats, and we can create movies. So we become now these vessels for creative intelligence that wants to move through us and express itself through us. And if we can kind of just get out of the way of that and allow that expression and get those impulses coming through and let those impulses go to some field or form or phenomenon that manifests them into a pottery or, like I said, a movie or a podcast. So this is the beautiful thing about liberating ourselves from it's me and my intelligence. It's the field's intelligence, and I'm just the expression of it. Yes.
Thank you so much. And also, I really, really, really love that you touched on, because I always feel like this with the Zest podcast is something is expressed and then it does this and it does this. And I think that is super important, because one thing I've learned is nothing's ever right, wrong, this, that. Everything should always be explored and be curious about everything and all perspectives. And what I felt like you brought up, which I said about having the desire and everyone can achieve it. And what you so beautifully expressed, which I have realized in my life as well, is the need and the want, which you talked about. So I'm so happy that we were able to come back round to that, because again, there were lots of things that I really wanted, and it's not saying that I will not receive them, but when whether you want to call it your soul or you want to call it something greater than you, the wording is not, I don't think, is always the main thing. It's the intention and the connection. And when I really connected to, if I'd like to say, my soul, and said, okay, right, listen, I would want this, but what does my soul really need right now? All my life. And it was not what I expected. But has it been one of the most beautiful blessings in my life? Yes. So I really, really thank you for bringing that back up again. And I think that's what allows this kind of wisdom to really become deeper, when we don't always just have one perspective and that's it. I think it's important that we explore all different routes. So thank you so much, Tom. And something that I saw recently on your Insta, to be honest, normally before connecting with a guest, I try not to know anything about them because I just want to be so curious. But I really felt like something that I realized that you commented on, I just feel like there's something really powerful about diving a little bit deeper into it. And it's meditation on a plane. Because I noticed that for years and years and years, whenever I traveled and, you know, everyone's trying to get to sleep and then you're back and all this and you know, and people almost like, even if you do have that sleep, you kind of feel groggy, you don't feel great. But there was a moment where I think it was a very short flight to start with, that I just thought, well, I don't really want to force myself to go to sleep because I'm wide awake. Why don't I put on some frequency music and do a meditation? And the insights, the downloads, if you want to call it, the information I received was so powerful. So I don't know, I just love your take on that, because I noticed that you were commenting about it on your social media recently.
Yeah, you know, it's such a efficient use of time when we're sitting on a plane upright in a cramped little seat, to utilize that time rather than trying to go into an unconscious state that you, as you say, wake up feeling twisted and distorted and sore neck and groggy and uncomfortable. For me, I had a 24 hours worth of flying, so I was flying from London to Singapore, which was 13 hours, and we had a 1 hour layover, and then it was another 9 hours from there. So it was quite a stretch, 23 hours all up. And, you know, there was traveling to the airport and getting to the airport early and checking out of the airport. So I figured that the best use of my time during that would be, because I'm sitting upright, to go into a deep meditation. So I meditated on the way there. I sort of got on the plane and decided that I would have the meal that they served and watch a movie, because I knew I was there for 13 hours. And so I sort of spent the first 3 hours or 4 hours just, you know, getting off the ground and having a meal and watching the movie. And then I meditated for about 9 hours after that. And it was really about getting into a deep state. We call it samadhi. Samadhi is a phenomenon where we get two English words from the word samadhi. Sama is where we get the word same, and dhi means intellect. So the intellect or the mind is the same. It's not changing. So there's no thoughts in the mind, because thoughts are constantly changing. So to get into samadhi is a state beyond thought. There's no thought. There's just a clear mind of consciousness, conscious awareness, but no thinking. And this is a very deep meditation state. And it's very beautiful, because what happens is we get a very, very deep level of physiological rest, yet we're sitting upright, our head is alert, and sitting on our shoulders, you know, without slumping over or falling forward. And we are able to sit in that position for quite a long time in meditation, in samadhi. And monks will do it for hours, days, weeks sometimes. So on a plane, it's a very conducive place to go into that type of meditation.
Beautiful. And just thinking aloud for the viewers, and, you know, just thinking about all different backgrounds, like is there a particular technique in order to get into that state of consciousness?
Yeah, look, there's so many different ways we can meditate, and, you know, we've got apps like Headspace and Calm and Insight Time, and they've got lots of different styles. I tend to use a particular practice called Vedic meditation. It's been around for around 5,000-6,000 years with a mantra. And we use specific mantras that are given to the student from the teacher based upon how old they are at the time, in a particular ceremony and process. It's a beautiful, I guess you call it an initiation into the practice. And once you have your mantra, the beautiful thing about that mantra is that it has an incredible influence on changing the brain's brainwave frequency. And it moves the brain from beta brainwave, which is an active thinking state, down into a beautiful elongated delta brainwave frequency. And you were talking about using some brainwave frequencies when you were listening to music. And so we use a mantra to do that. And what it does is that mantra synchronizes or entrains the brain down into those deeper meditative states. Very simple process.
Beautiful. And just knowing from your background, so if people are interested to explore this further, they can obviously reach out to you and find out more. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's teachers all around the world. They can just look up Vedic meditation, otherwise also known as Transcendental Meditation. And I'm not necessarily here to promote me as a teacher, but more the style itself. Mm-hmm. And if people want to find teachers in their area and learn in person, which I think is always ideal, they can just Google that and find someone in their local area and find a teacher that will be suitable to learn with them. They can just look up Transcendental Meditation or Vedic meditation. But if they want to learn from me, I do run courses on Zoom, and I do teach it in person as well. So there's that option as well. But I always suggest to people, do your research, find a teacher that you resonate. Some people might want to learn from a woman. Someone might want to learn from someone older or someone younger, someone hipper or someone cooler or someone not cooler. And, there's so many different ways and types of people you can learn from. And I just think that no one's going to be the right teacher for everyone, and to find the person that you resonate with the most.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And this comes up so much actually on the podcast of, in the sense of there's such an abundance of what we're all creating and doing, but equally we are still unique in the sense of they can only connect with you and your energy and the way you do it. So I always think that that's really important to celebrate, that yes, there's lots of podcasts, there's lots of meditation teachers, but equally if you feel something and you want to connect with that person, and I believe we do have our own energy and we have our own way of delivering, and it's still super important, because and it's not saying that there's good or bad practitioners. We're all very different and we all support different people, but if there's a certain experience that you want and you see that experience being carried out, you go for what you want, because I think it's important. And we are the ones essentially in control of the choices we make in life. So, but that's very kind of you to say, Tom. Thank you for sharing that. I want to be really conscious of the time, and I really appreciate this time with you. But equally, if there's anything that we haven't touched on or discussed yet, because I like it to be like a co-creation rather than an interview, and you feel like the viewers would really benefit from hearing what, if there's anything that comes to your mind, feel free to express it.
I appreciate that. So lovely. It's it's a wonderful conversation we're having, and hopefully people are enjoying it. And the thing that the world that we're in right now, it can seem very challenging and very intense and very uncomfortable. And someone was talking to me the other day in an interview, and they were talking about how the world is filled with trepidation and why people understandably are so worried and scared. And I said it's very unjustified actually, because we actually have a world that's safer than it's ever been before. When we look at world wars of the past and we look at some of the incredible situations that humans had to go through, I mean, most of us can walk down the street to go to our supermarket and get food that has barcodes and ingredients written on it, and we sit at home with our Netflix and our Spotify, and we actually have an incredibly safe world, and we've had more certainty than ever before. It's just that there's a tendency, because we have access to so much information flow, and we see so much news, and we see so much storytelling happening out there, that we're oblivious to just the simplicities of existence. The rain on a tin roof, the moon in the night sky, the feeling of salt water from the ocean drying on your skin on a hot summer's day, or walking on soft grass in the morning dew. And there's a simple, beautiful world around us, and the problem is we're looking for certainty and safety in places that we're not going to find it. We're not going to find it in news stories. We're not going to find it by looking up some of the worst things that are happening on the planet, when there's beautiful things happening around us. So it's about really just shifting our awareness, I think, and starting to bring it into the simplicity and the presence of what's happening around us in this moment.
Absolutely, that's so beautiful. And I know, I don't know why this just came to mind, but I feel like when something does, it's important to express it. And something that I really noticed recently was even when there's creative beauty, even when it's been perceived as accurate and true when it's not. It's so funny that so for example, because I feel like that was a bit like thrown out there and then everyone's like, what's she talking about? So for example, there was something that I saw recently, and it was the most beautiful divine rainbow in the Philippines, okay? And then, you know, there was, and to stop and see that on your feed and appreciate the beauty of it, the beauty, let's just really home in everyone of the beauty of it. And then it was just this, like, these comments of, if anyone believes that, you're so stupid, it's AI, it's fake. And I'm like, even when people are creatively expressing themselves, and there wasn't actually anything to say this is true, but it's so interesting, and I get it, you know, because there is also people want to feel like they're being told the truth. But equally, why does something so beautiful still play into that fear, that negativity, instead of just saying, okay, it's AI, but imagine if that did happen in our world, and seeing it from a different lens. And that's how I saw it. I didn't see it as, wow, oh my, you know, even if I was naive or whatever, you know, what people were saying, it doesn't actually matter, because it's something beautiful that's someone's put the time and the effort to create some beauty in our world and allow that to feed through people's minds. And as we know, you can really hold on to a beautiful vision, it eventually will become a reality. Because I'm sure at the time when someone, you know, said about something flying in the sky and transporting people around, that they were laughed at and made to feel like a stupid person, and probably, you know, drew pictures. And don't be listening to that nonsense, everyone. Well, that nonsense often, and I don't know, I just feel like it's a really powerful point of, before you connect to that energy, just think, is this a horrible, unkind thing that's being shown to you? Or is it okay to allow a little bit of creativity and imagination and fun? So I don't know, I just felt like it was really important.
Yeah, you know, we're all looking through a lens or a filter, you know, the way we see the world, and we're expressing our words and our actions and even our thoughts from a vibrational resonance. So we've got a vibrational resonance of anger that is probably a residue of some traumatic or horrible experiences we've had in life. Maybe you had a terrible childhood, and now when you see that supposedly, let's just call it a fake AI rainbow on an Instagram post, then that anger is looking for some form of expression. It's looking for release, and so it's going to come out in their words. And the smallest little things, I see this all the time, particularly in comments on social media or in you know, people in day-to-day interactions, that they can be very expressive of the energy that's coming through their body. And if it's a positive energy, they'll help the lady cross the road, because that action is an expression of what's inside them, if they've got love and kindness. So I think for me, my big motivation with my work is to help change people's vibrational resonance. And what happens when we get them into states of peace and calm, when we clear those toxic residues, those vibrational residues of their life experiences, then their words, their actions, their thoughts become more of that expression of that energetic frequency that's in their body. And this is the challenge with, I think, a lot of methodologies out there, particularly the one, not that I have a challenge with it, but just talk therapy alone, even though it is very helpful for a lot of people, and I don't want to dismiss that as a method, but we've got to address the frequency in the body, and what are we doing to change that state. And that's where breath work, meditation, yoga, qigong, plant medicine, those other things that really get into the physiological state of the body, because that's where the thoughts are coming from, that's where the actions are coming from and the words are coming from.
Once again, so beautifully explained, and I 100% agree. And it's so interesting. I was actually speaking with someone recently, and they listened to a very high vibrational motivational talk, and they, you know, I could feel the energy and the frequency was so high that day, and they're dancing around, and, you know, they were really in their element. And I'm not saying that they crashed the next day, but I kind of just said, you have to remember that that was a lot on your body. And then, you know, you kind of almost opened the capacity so huge that it then went, ooh. And I just said, so just remember that even when you connect to that beautiful energy, sometimes, you know, your body needs time to you know, integrate it, to adjust to it, and that's fine. Maybe go and listen to it again, or, you know, as you said, or move your body, or and that's the other thing I love that you commented on. I know it's also when we move our bodies, sometimes it's not like, even when we're dancing or something, a lot can come up, and I've just learned to not see it as good or bad, and just, okay, why does crying have to be bad? Sometimes it's a release.
On our retreats we take people through a really deep process, which we use a number of different methods to get that body to start releasing a lot of these energies that were meant to be in motion when they were younger. These are emotions, and we see a lot of tears, we see a lot of frustrations, a lot of impatience, a lot of anger coming out during these retreat environments in a really healthy way. And we pre-framed that, of course, at the beginning of the retreat, saying, you know, there are going to be sensations that are going to arise out of your body, not because they're going in as a stress from some experience, because they're coming out of your body as a release of that stress. And we've got to learn and appreciate and allow that releasing to happen if it's in a nice, safe, held container.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing up the retreats as well, Tom. So all that will be in the description for everybody as well. What again you so powerfully explained, which I'm not saying it never was that way, but I think there's many times in our life where we were just told but never explained. Whereas that's the beauty. If you're in that safe container and you're with someone who understands the reason behind what they're sharing with you, you know, your body can relax into it and still allow whatever's happening. Whereas I remember the first time, and it's not any fault to the person delivering it, but I remember I just went to a sports center and did yoga. Okay, no idea about yoga, and then obviously at the end it was all the chanting and all that, and even my body, even though I couldn't stop laughing because I was so nervous and like, what's happening, but there was no kind of explanation, it just happened. And I just felt like, if there was a little bit more of kind of okay, so now what we do and the reason why we say this, so I understand the reason behind the word namaste now. But before I was like, why are people saying that? Like, you know, and it's almost, you see it like a joke sometimes, but actually when you really go and connect into the energy of it, it's actually something very special. But again, if you haven't had that explanation, you're not in that frame of mind to go and find out. I just feel like, again, we don't want to over explain everything. We do want to be in the moment, but equally I think there needs to be balance.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. It's such an important thing, because it can be a bit overwhelming or disconcerting if you've got these sensations arising and you haven't understood it. You know, I'm teaching meditation this week on Zoom for a group of people. I've got 8 students through this course, and the first thing I said to them at the start of the course is that during this week there may be times when you feel emotions arising, and you may find that tears are coming out of your eyes and you don't know why or where they've come from. That's just your body releasing that energy. And so we just sit with that and just observe it. We don't suppress it, we just observe and let it happen. So yeah, as you say, you don't have to go too much into it, but just a little bit of a
just a little nudge is good, because you know, you almost go back to that child that, you know, well, I did in my case, not anyone else, where it was like, you know, you're in trouble or something happens, but because you don't know how to deal with it, you start laughing, and it's really not a matter to be laughing at. But anyway, I think people have got the picture. But really, 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 Tom, what an incredible conversation. I really appreciate you so much saying yes to Zest Zen. And just at the end, it doesn't have to be anything linked to what we've said at all, but just whatever comes to your mind. If there was something someone listening right now would really benefit from hearing, what would you tell them?
The very essence of our reality as a human is that we, and it sounds very corny, but it's true, and you'll start to discover this more and more, we are the custodian and the representative and the embodiment of love.
Yeah.
And it's really, really simple. And if we can just continue to allow that expression of love to come through us in our words, in our actions, and to sit and meditate on that. You know, today, how do I work for love? How do I express love? How do I be love? And where am I not allowing love to express itself through me? How am I blocking or getting in the way of love? And so I think this is, for me, part of my daily routine, and it's such a powerful, liberating experience to just not have to be anything more than just that.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And the synchronicity, because I was just reading my book this morning, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder, and the page that I literally read, and I had to really sit with it and be like, oh, and it was exactly what you just said about working for love. And I was just, sorry if I hope I said that right. And I was just like, I really had to sit with it. And thank you so much for bringing that up, because this is only my personal experience, but what I noticed as well is courage and often fear and all those emotions are usually what unlocks the love. And yeah, I'm definitely, like I'm sure most people, really on that journey, and opening my heart more and more and more and more. So really thank you for that. You've been an incredible guest, and yeah, so incredible to be connected with you, and may you receive so much more abundance, and all that your soul, if you'd like to say, requires aligning with, and not requires, that sounds rude, but wants to align with, and may you just continue to just support others and really help them align with love, I believe.
Thanks so much, and thanks for holding space, creating this experience, and inviting me to have such a beautiful conversation like this. So we need more conversations like this in the world, that's for sure.
Thank you so much, Tom.
That's the magic that Zest is in.